The Large Expandable Pack by Knack Bags is a 22-liter to 37-liter expandable backpack that is a little bit more of a business-focused style and aesthetic. I'm Tom, the founder of Pack Hacker, where we use our expertise and real-world experience to provide practical resources and honest opinions, guiding you towards smarter travel. So if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing. We've been testing the Large Expandable Pack over the course of the last 2 weeks, and we've also had the medium pack in the mix as well. So let's dive into all the details. Let's check it out. Overall, the aesthetic of this bag is a bit more on the business side, and although it may not look good with a suit, most backpacks don't, it definitely has a more professional vibe going on across the pack. The orange interior liner that we see on the inside is reminiscent to a suit jacket liner as well, so it definitely follows through with that more business travel focused look. The large version comes in a gray and a stealth black. The medium-sized bag has an additional 2 colors. There is a Loden green and a burnt orange, which at the time of this review is a limited edition colorway. For both the large and the medium size, we decided to go with black on black because we think that looks a little bit more sharp. With a business-focused bag, especially that gray color on the larger size, it starts to look a little bit cheaper when you have those black zippers all over the front of this thing, and then you have that gray fabric on the back. So overall, we think the black is just a little bit more of a streamlined look. From a branding perspective, we see this funky double K logo right here, and then we have a Knack word mark at the bottom here. The logo can show up on a couple other places within the pack, on the front shoulder straps here, and on some of the zipper pulls, and then the interior of the pack as well. If you take a look at this double K logo, it looks very similar to Under Armour, or at least it kind of has that same vibe going on. Now, I personally don't like the look of this thing. I think it looks a little bit cheap, although it looks and feels better in person than it does from the online photos. Of course, aesthetics are also always in the eyes of the beholder. That's why we polled our Instagram audience to get their thoughts on the overall look. From a materials perspective, we have reverse coil YKK zippers going on across the board. They use a number 8 for the main clamshell opening, and then YKK zippers throughout on a lot of the other interior and exterior pockets. The exterior fabric is a 1200D polyester that's going on, and the inside interior liner, which is white and orange, is a 150D nylon liner. Knack explains that the interior nylon liner brightens your day because it's bright orange color, which is subjective and arguable based on the type of person you are and the mood that you're in for that day. But the real function that it helps out with is that it allows you to see the items inside of your bag a little bit more. So the orange and the white contrast nicely against black gear. We think the pattern of the interior fabric looks a little bit busy. If you want to see an example of a really great high visibility interior, check out Topo Designs. A lot of their pouches and a lot of their bags have either a really bright orange or a bright yellow, green, neon color going on, and it really allows you to see the gear inside very clearly. Kicking it off with the external components, starting with the harness system. Overall, we have 2 decently padded straps. It is not the most dense foam in the world that I've ever felt, but they do get the job done. The plastic strap adjusters at the bottom are Duraflex. There's also a metal attachment buckle that is used to attach the straps to the bag, as well as kind of secure extra strap that's hanging down after you pull these tighter. So it keeps everything nice and tight. And then those plastic D-rings attached to the metal clip. The metal does add a bit more weight than we'd like to see. However, it just feels like high quality when you're feeling it in your hand. And this is one of the parts of the pack that do feel really nice and well designed. There's a pretty standard sternum strap going on here that's fastened semi-permanently and is overall nice to adjust. So the good thing about this is there are not predefined places where this can attach and detach. You can just slide it up and down and have it at whatever position that you would like to have it at. In addition to that, it is not a sternum strap that is going to fall off easily, so you can't really pull it directly off. If you do want to take it off, you slide this up to either the top or the bottom, and that rail gets a little bit more narrow, and then you can pull this off, although it is hard to do, and you have to fold that excess fabric over. So generally pretty secure. It is going to be pretty hard to lose this sternum strap. We like that there's an option for a waist belt here. However, it does not distribute a ton of weight. If you want an example of a similar kind of pack, the Air Travel Pack 2 has a really great waist belt that is padded and helps distribute the weight without being too thick and bulky. So we think that the Knack Bags pack could have a little bit thicker of a sternum strap going on to help distribute that weight. Does a really great job at keeping the pack close to your back, just doesn't distribute a ton of weight. And to wrap up the harness system, everything that you see here is hideable. So it's quite easy just to unclip the straps, put them behind the back panel in the zippered compartment, and then you can do that with the waist belt as well. Speaking of the back panel, the foam that we have going on here kind of feels like a memory foam mattress, which is nice and comfortable. However, it's really not gonna help with much airflow, and they've kind of designed it to look like there is some ability for airflow here, but there's no mesh and the foam is just not dense enough to hold it far away from your back. Now, back sweat is pretty much unavoidable with any bag, but there are certain packs that do it better than this one. Take, for example, the Tortuga Set-Out Divide, which is also another expandable backpack that has a very dense foam on the back panel, so it's gonna keep it separate from your back. And then it also has some mesh as well, which is gonna help promote additional airflow. Not really the case here with the Knack Bags Expandable Large Backpack. Wrapping up the external components, we do have a just right top handle here. Nice amount of foam here that's used for either just grabbing the bag quickly by the top or hanging it up. We also have an optional hideable water bottle pocket on the side here as well. This is personally one of my favorite parts on the pack because even when it's in use and you're using a water bottle, you can still keep a low profile and it's pretty much hidden behind this pack material, this 1200D polyester. So I really love that. If the bag is a little bit more empty, the water bottle can kind of go inside a little bit because the fabric here is gusseted, so it hides it even more. But even when the bag is fully loaded up and packed out, the water bottle only sticks out a tiny bit. So that is a really great feature. Again, one of my personal favorites, and I think Knack did a really great job designing that one. And lastly, the main differentiating feature of this bag, the expandability feature that adds another 15 liters from the compressed state. We love that this feature is very low profile because it's hidden under a pretty large flap. You would hardly know that the expandability feature was here unless you have operated and used this bag before. We like it compared to other expandable packs that have the zipper exposed and a little bit more open. Can get a little bit confusing as to whether you're opening the main compartment of the bag or the compressibility feature on other bags. So we do like that Knack has kept that kind of hidden underneath this fabric flap of that 1200D polyester. While compressed, this will easily fit underneath an airplane seat in front of you. But when it's uncompressed, you might have to put it in an overhead bin. And while it's in that uncompressed state, Knack says it goes from 4.5 inches in depth to 9.5. However, when we fully loaded this thing out, it does feel and look a lot more boxy than that. We've measured it in to be about 1 foot. So you lose a lot of that low profileness when it is fully expanded, and it can be a little bit bulky and not quite as much of a joy to travel with. So just note that. Starting with the triangular pocket on the front, it is just easy to grab that tab at the top here and pull it down for quick access. There is nice elastic webbing going on here that can hold things like dongles. Smaller cables fit in well, but longer cables don't because they get a little bit too thick. Pens, pencils, and styluses. So it's nice to have that feature. This pocket is great for that. And then you've got some like area here if you want to have a small notebook, and then card pockets lining the bottom as well as a couple other small pockets for additional organization. So if you have like a camera card, that can go in there as well. And this pocket is one thing that makes this bag really unique. Now, I think it's a penalization as far as the aesthetic goes. It makes it look a little bit more sporty when you just have these two zippers going down here. And I think the actual design of it, the idea is totally there, but there just feels like there's something missing with the execution of how it's all come together. So this is definitely one of the pockets that makes this bag unique. I just think it could have been done a little bit better. Right on the top here, we have a nice quick access pocket with a partition down the middle. So the back side is going to feature that nylon liner that we have seen. Then the front side is going to have a little bit more soft material on the inside, which is going to be good for more delicate devices or sunglasses. On the bottom here, there is a separate pocket going on here for a computer charger. And with the large version of this bag, it'd be nice if this was a little bit larger to hold shoes. Be curious to see if they decide to include that in a V2. But this is just like a really great place to put your laptop charger in. You know, you usually have like cord spaghetti going on, so you just shove it in there, zip it up, totally forget about it. Nice space for that. On the back of this bag, there is a stealthy laptop compartment as well that can hold laptops of up to 17 inches. So overall, it's a decent kind of no frills laptop. We like the positioning of it, and we like that it's accessible from the sides. The one thing that we wish it had with this design is a bit more of a false bottom. So although there's some decent padding down there, your laptop kind of goes right to the bottom of the bag. And if you do have any sudden drops that happen, it's more likely that your laptop will get damaged versus if this ends a little bit higher, you can kind of hit the bottom of the pack first before impacting your laptop inside of that pocket. When opening the front flap of this compartment, we have access to about a little over the third of the main capacity of the interior of this bag while it's in the expanded state. We do like this nylon fold going on at the bottom here, and that's a nice feature. It does feel kind of cheap, but the idea is there. So it keeps this horseshoe from coming completely down and exposing all of your gear when you open up this pack. So if you have this sitting next to you, say you're sitting at a coffee shop doing some work or you're at your desk, quickly open this up. You don't have to worry about pulling the zippers too far. If this wasn't here, it would just completely open that front compartment. For organization on the front area here, of course, we have the big space here for the main compartment. And then we have a mesh pocket on the back and a mesh pocket on the front. Now this mesh material is nice because you can see through everything that's going on the inside. However, these pockets are not 3D, meaning there's not a ton of give in them. So if you want to fit larger items in, it's not really going to work too well. Generally better for smaller items and smaller tech gear. There's another divider pocket here, which is about tablet sized, and the liner is that same soft material that's used in the quick grab pocket for sunglasses. Similar to the metal buckles that attach the harness system to the bag, we also like the metal keyring here. And honestly, this is a really great feeling keyring. A lot of other bags on the market opt for a cheap feeling plastic one, but again, that metal material feels good here. And this material selection from Knack feels really great. We just wish the rest of the materials kind of followed suit. And then moving on to the main compartment, this is where all the compressible space happens here. So this kind of fabric that's bunched off at the sides, once you unzip that main compartment, open it up, there is a lot more room in this main compartment. This thing opens up just like a suitcase, very much clamshell style. And towards the wearer's back of the bag, you're gonna have a big mesh divider pocket. Now this isn't a 3D pocket similar to the other pockets on the front of the bag. However, since it is larger, there is a little bit more give. So if you wanna put socks and underwear in here, that's gonna work really well. And of course, in the main compartment, we would always recommend using packing cubes, and the additional compression strap feature on the inside here is a nice touch to keep your luggage even a little bit more tidy. So if you use packing cubes and the compression feature, you are pretty much good to go. At the time of this review, we have been testing the Knack Bags Expandable Large Backpack over the course of 2 weeks in everyday use. In those 2 weeks, we have not seen a ton of durability issues. The YKK zippers are holding up really well, and so is the 1200D polyester on the exterior. Now on the craftsmanship front, there are a couple loose threads in the outsides of the pack, as well as near that mesh pocket on the interior. So not super hot on seeing those loose threads after only 2 weeks of testing. Time will tell how that continues to hold up as we use the bag for longer. In real world testing over the course of 2 weeks, the pack just felt really average. There's nothing super special about it. It holds your stuff well. There are some smart pockets, but overall just the feel and the usage day to day just kind of felt average. So to wrap this thing up with some pros and cons, there was some great thinking with the front triangle pocket. The entire harness system is hideable. The expandable water pocket is smartly designed and stealth even when in use. On to some of the cons, the waist belt does not distribute weight very well. It is not a very comfortable carry in the expanded state. The bag gets a little bit too fat depth-wise, and the harness system isn't quite good enough to make it very comfortable. And lastly, the bag doesn't really have that feel-good factor. It looks and feels a little bit cheap for the price. The Knack Bag's large expandable pack feels quite average in everyday use. Although they have some great ideas going on with the triangular pocket, the pack liner that's reminiscent of a suit, a dedicated laptop charger pocket, and a dedicated and very hidden expandable zipper, we couldn't help but feel like we just wanted to see a little bit more in the holistic execution of the bag. There are a lot of great ideas, but it's just missing something. We'd love to take a closer look at a V2 since Knack is still a relatively new brand. So there you have it, our review of the Knack Bags Expandable Large Knack Pack. Be sure to let us know in the comments what you think of this thing. We would definitely love to hear from you. Thanks for keeping it here at Pack Hacker, your guide to smarter travel. We'll see you in the next video.